Around the nation, DYT Nation, Jeff Waldorf here. Welcome to the show, everybody. We got a great show. I don't know why, but I'm having a weird time trying to open the show. But that's what happens. Okay, so anyway, welcome. Got a great show ahead for you guys. So please stick around next hour as we go around the nation for some of the best stories, progressive political commentary you can find on the web. We have a lot of important stuff today. So we're, of course, going to give you an update of what's going on in Syria. A lot of disaster going on. We also have a story. Is Hillary Clinton going to jump into 2020? Oh, God, no. What? Wait. I don't know. Let's look at it. Okay, and we'll talk about that. Then we have Betsy DeVos. Interesting story on that. On whether or not she might be going to jail. What is this? What? Okay, fun stuff. Then we've got serious stuff. We're going to talk about, of course, U.S. healthcare, a new study on why we should probably have Medicare for all. We also have a children's book is triggering conservatives. Fun. Oh, I love it. And then actually, I'm also going to talk about more updates about Blitzchung and Blizzard censorship. So interesting stuff there as well. Yeah, I'm really interested in that story. I want to see what's going on because now Blizzard has gotten himself into major trouble, not only with fans, but also with Blizzard employees. Oh, interesting. And politicians, by the way. This is like the rage is bipartisan. You're going to love this. I actually will agree with a Republican. How did that happen? Well, we'll get into that story and we'll talk about it. So before I do, big announcement. We have a new partner. I am partnered with a startup called Q Bounty. So now what is it? Basically, it's like a super chat, but offline. So look, right now YouTube has this super chat system, right? So you ask a question, give me a comment or something, and I'll respond to it. And that's generally how it works. Q Bounty it's like the same, but it works offline. So I can answer the question in video form basically at any time. So you can send me a question like tonight or whenever you like catch the stream. Send me a question, $2 or whatever, throw me $2 and I'll go and make a response to it. That's basically how it works. So ask me whatever. And of course, I can accept or decline within reason, like kind of question. And actually, I already have a couple of questions, and I'll answer those actually in the middle of the show, a couple of Q Bounties to answer. And again, I'm going to do that in video form. I may post it up on the channel itself, which I think actually might be interesting. And there's a lot of different directions that we can go. So sign up, Q Bounty, if you want to ask me like a question and have me, basically do a video response to it. So that's Q Bounty, QBOUNTI. So check that out. And by the way, Q Bounty actually helps me more and helps the show more than YouTube Super Chat. So Google takes about 30% from a YouTube Super Chat. Q Bounty, half that. So that's kind of awesome. So again, I'm going to post the link in the description of the video, but it is QBOUNTI. Very important. TI at the end. Q Bounty. So again, check that out. Sign up. Start sending some questions, and I'll do some video responses to that. In fact, later on, when I take a break or after I get home back from the break, and I usually answer normal super chats or do some questions or comments, whatever. I will do some Q Bounties as well. So I already have a couple. So fun stuff. Super, super stoked to be working with that, and to being a partner of Hubel. All right, so before I get into the show, by the way, um, important to note that we are now in the midst of some YouTube fuckery. So let me explain. So look, over the last couple of weeks, and it's been really hitting us hard. The last probably week and a half, 2 weeks, we have seen our views cut by half. Views cut by half. Subscribers barely getting in subscribers. So normally we get about 2 to 3 thousand subscribers a month. That has been cut down to about 800. Massive drop in subscribers. So, and the reason, of course, is that because of some YouTube basically changes to the algorithm, and that's what I'm guessing, right? Our videos are not getting out to non-subscribers. So, and of course, there's a lot of notifications, and I put out a question, right? Are my subscribers actually receiving notifications when we go live, notifications when we put up videos? And a lot of people said, absolutely not. We are not getting notifications. We don't know when your videos are live. I have to go to your channel, check it out. Sometimes I'm not even getting notifications on my feed at all for days. And so YouTube, big problems. And I'm not the only one. One of the other big people that is experiencing this as well, is David Dole, the Rational National. So now, Rational National makes great content. I urge you guys to subscribe to him and also support him on Patreon. He's been hit the same as me, lost 50% of his views, which roughly translates to around half of his revenue. So, like me, he does this full time. And of course, it takes a lot of time and effort to put these segments together. And again, he does a fantastic job. So again, subscribe to him, support him on Patreon, help him get through this. But again, he's seen the same dip in subscribers, and so we know what's going on. And I'm sure that there are a lot of other YouTubers on the news and politics that are going through this as well. And so, in the immediate term, what do we do, or what can you do to help? Share. Very, very important that you share, right? And of course, you check back regularly. We put out videos every day, about 4 to 5 videos. My schedule runs from, I start putting videos up about 5 every hour from 5 o'clock on. So, like you want to see the videos later on today, all the videos are up. Check back 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, right? They're usually all up by about that. If you want to like binge them. I don't know how you guys watch YouTube videos, and it doesn't matter how you watch them, as long as you just guys remember just to check back. There's always more content on this channel, and also really, really important to share. Very, very, very important. So now the next thing is, beyond that, patreon.com/TYTNation. Again, that's one of the biggest, most direct ways of supporting this channel. And a lot of other YouTubers have gone to Patreon as well because of the adpocalypse, because of demonetization, all these different factors that are basically destroying independent progressive media. And so that's what we've had today. That's what we're having to deal with now. And for at least the past month, a couple of weeks for me. But it did start going down in September. So look, big problems. YouTube fuckery. It's affecting, I think, all of us, and we need your help. So as usual, please share. Most important thing that you can do, other than become a patron and support us, directly. All right. I know I hate having to come back with the same message every couple of months, but it seems like every couple of months, YouTube messes with the algorithm, buries us independent news channels with the basically corporate media, CNN, MSNBC clips, and then there it is. we're kind of stuck, and we really don't have any other choice than to come to you guys. And look, I'd rather come to you guys to begin with, but I know, and this is a big problem with independent media, is that look, let me give you an example of what they do on the right. So the right wing has a huge presence on YouTube, right? And so, and of course, they all cross pollinate. And the reason is they all have the same donors. There's a few billionaires and think tanks and foundations that are set up. They get billionaire money, big donor money, and they spread it around to different people: Charlie Kirk, Steven Crowder, Ben Shapiro, all these different, right wing figures. They're all connected with these large donations. We don't have that on the left. We don't have that like cross pollination as much as we should have, and we don't work with each other as much as we should have. And the reason is we're all in competition for what little there is. So that's the big problem, right? And we're all competing for a very small base of people that arguably, don't have a lot of money. And so, that's why we're such, the left is so, I hate to say it, but we're pretty weak online. Aside from a few really big channels, Secular Talk, the Young Turks, obviously, and all of its partner channels, we're essentially the only left presence on YouTube, where there's about 1.5 billion, right wing conservative channels. And so that's really important that we continue to have this presence on YouTube, and have that support. But again, that big problem is there's not a lot to go around. So $1, $2, $3, whatever you can get, and whatever you guys can help out these different channels. Again, Rational National, Humanist Report, great channels, great people, great hosts, great content. We could all use your support. And so, all we ask is that you do what you can. And absent that, please share our content. Very important. Okay. Anyway, that's it. So let's go to actual news. Sorry to take up most of the beginning of the show complaining, but this is a reality of YouTube. Okay. Now I'm done. It has begun. Turkish forces have now crossed into the Syrian border and launched an operation in Kurdish-controlled areas. Just like we said, what was going to happen after Donald Trump announced that he would be pulling out U.S. troops. So now the Turkish military says that they are working with the Syrian National Army, adding that the area that they're targeting involves Kurdish fighters as well as ISIS extremists. And by the way, the Islamic State is essentially beaten, but taking advantage of the Turkish invasion into northern Syria to attack Kurdish targets, ISIS decided to attack Raqqa. So now here we've got ISIS that is emboldened thanks to the Turkish invasion. So now it's becoming a complete and utter mess. Now, Erdogan, who's the leader of Turkey, said this. He said, "Our mission is to prevent the creation of a terror corridor across our southern border and to bring peace to the area." Well, good job. Bang up job, Erdogan. No, you did the opposite. You just invited ISIS to now attack targets while you were too busy fighting with the Kurds. Which, by the way, Kurds are our biggest allies against the Islamic State. Again, we knew what was going to happen. We said what was going to happen as soon as we, left the area. And what do you know? Now it's happening. Now, ahead of the operation, Turkish soldiers had used heavy equipment to remove concrete border walls. So that's ironic. So I just wanted to point that out. yes, they were able to take down the border wall so that troops could cross. Now, on Tuesday, Turkey had reportedly struck the Syrian Iraqi border to keep Kurdish forces, using it from a conduit to reinforce their positions. So, again, both sides were expecting fighting, and now this is what's happening. Now, the operation, according to Mustafa Bali, a spokesperson for the Kurdish led forces, said this quote, the operation is causing fear among the U.S.'s Kurdish allies. Turkish warplanes have started to carry out airstrikes in civilian targets. There is a huge panic among the people of the region. Now they're going after civilians. Oh, no, we're going after ISIS. We're going after terrorists. No, you're going after civilian areas. No, this is terrible. Absolutely terrible. And again, exactly what we said was going to happen. Now, Brett McGurk, who was Donald Trump's special envoy for the fight against ISIS, said this in an interview with NPR. He said, presidents do a lot of things, but the most consequential are decisions of war and peace like this, and you can't make decisions on a haphazard basis after a single call with a foreign leader. And by the way, that's what happened. Donald Trump, after one call with Erdogan, decided, oh, yeah, we're going to unilaterally pull out of Syria with no plan. We're not going to tell our allies in the region. We're not going to tell anybody. We're just going to go. Gone. And so Turkey's like, and Erdogan specifically, and by the way, Turkish people are not our enemy. So let's be very clear about that. There's the right-wing Turkish government led by Erdogan, who is I believe he's a proto-fascist. Okay. So he's doing all this. And by the way, again, Turkish people are our allies. They're a member state in NATO, the second largest army in NATO. And so, again, they're our allies in the Middle East, and I want to make sure they continue to be our allies. But at the same time, we made promises to the Kurdish people in exchange for their help in fighting ISIS. So what do? Well, apparently under Trump, we backstab one ally to appease another. And this is after one phone call. And by the way, this is also after we are reminded of the fact that Donald Trump has business interests in Turkey, in Istanbul. So I wonder if that has anything to do about that. So now, let me give you more information here. Again, Turkish warplanes have started bombing civilian areas. So there will likely be some civilian casualties, which is a disaster. And so all of this, big disaster. Now, here's the thing. It appears that the Turkish government did not take President Trump's threat seriously. Remember, Donald Trump, after he said, oh, yeah, no, we're going to pull out. We're tired of doing these endless wars in the Middle East and interfering in quote unquote tribal conflicts. He said, as I have strongly stated before, and just to reiterate, if Turkey does anything that I, in my great and unmatched wisdom, consider to be off limits, I will totally destroy and obliterate the economy of Turkey. I've done it before. No, you haven't. Disaster. You don't say that to an ally. There are ways that we can do this where, yes, we can obviously not make an enemy of Turkey, and I don't want to, but do this in a way, withdraw from the area, but in a way that actually protects our Kurdish allies as well. And you know what? There was actually a way that the Pentagon was working on. And I know I'm not a huge person that has huge faith in the Pentagon, but they were working on a way to do that, to create a safe zone, right? A specific zone where Kurdish people can be able to go without being attacked by Turkish forces or Syrian forces or Iraqi forces or anything like that, right? A place where they can actually go. But Donald Trump pretty much abandoned that, which has led to the current crisis. So now what? What's going to happen? Is Donald Trump going to put sanctions on Turkey, on one of our allies? I don't know, man. I don't know what's going to happen. But I know this is just another betrayal of our Kurdish allies. Again, this would be the 8th time that we have basically stabbed them in the back. And now what's going to happen? Absolute bloodshed. So whatever slaughter happens going forward, unfortunately, that's going to be both on, of course, the Turkish government's hands and on Trump's. Okay. All right. So, absolute disaster. Okay. Moving on. Go to domestic politics. Oh boy. Now, here's the question everybody wants to know: is Hillary Clinton going to try to run in 2020? Oh, dear God. I can't believe I'm asking this question. Uh, but there's a little bit of speculation, and so let me give you the reasons that we're talking about this. Um, in an interview with PBS's Judy Woodruff, Clinton said in response to a question about Donald Trump urging her to run again. And I'm going to read you the tweet here in a minute, but she said, maybe there needs to be a rematch. I mean, obviously, I can beat him again. And of course, she means by the popular vote count, which didn't actually beat him, by the way. Now, Woodruff said, well, hey, she was just joking. She was just joking. Well, God damn it, that is enough to give a man a heart attack. Okay? So don't joke like that. Terrible. So, again, this is in response to this tweet from President Trump, or this group of tweets. I think that crooked Hillary Clinton should enter the race to try to steal it away from uber left Elizabeth Warren. Only on one condition: the crooked one must explain all of her high crimes and misdemeanors, including how and why she deleted 33,000 emails after getting C subpoena. That made no sense. Now, in response to that on Twitter, by the way, Clinton said this: don't tempt me, do your job. Please do not tempt her. That would be a wish come true for the Trump campaign. So now, look, let me give you some information of why he was talking about Elizabeth Warren anyway. So now, Elizabeth Warren is now the new front runner in the 2020 election on the Democratic primary. So now she has surpassed Joe Biden nationally for the first time. So now Elizabeth Warren, again, she's got a lot of plans. Plans are actually pretty decent. I think that they're half measures, but they're much, much better than anything that Pete Buttigieg and Kamala Harris and Amy Klobuchar have come up with. So, I mean, there's something there, right? And so people like those plans. I like Bernie Sanders better. I like his plans. They're more fleshed out and they're more comprehensive. That's personal preference, right? But I'm saying that Elizabeth Warren has been doing very well, probably because of those reasons. So now, and by the way, just before going live here, I read a story where Elizabeth Warren, and this is one of the biggest complaints from progressives. This is one of my complaints about Elizabeth Warren, is that she said, well, look, I'm not going to take corporate money in the primary, but I will take corporate money in the general. She now came out today and said, you know what? I'm not going to take corporate money in the general either. I'm going to swear off corporate money completely. Okay, great. That's good pressure. One of the problems with Elizabeth Warren is we don't exactly trust her to hold her word. But I still think that's kind of a win. So there's that. But anyway, she is the front runner. Joe Biden is sinking, which we all expected would happen. So now, pretty soon, I think we're going to have a race between Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, which I think is fantastic. Unless someone from the establishment tries to ruin it. Now, we already have a ton of establishment candidates. Again, we've got Kamala Harris, we've got Pete Buttigieg, we've got Amy Klobuchar. We actually lost quite a few. Kirsten Gillibrand dropped out. Seth Moulton. There's so many other people, but there's still Cory Booker that's still running. Again, too many people running on the Democratic side. I can't really keep track of them, but you get the point, right? So now, you've got all these establishment candidates that don't even add up together to get Bernie Sanders, who's in third place, by the way. So the establishment is reeling. So it wouldn't surprise me if some people had it in their mind to be like, hey, Hillary, why don't you jump in there? Prime target. We need it. Look, Joe Biden is failing. We need an establishment champion. Hillary Clinton. Guaranteed. All the people. And by the way, this is another thing with Elizabeth Warren's base, right? There is a lot of, I think, former, and that, okay, maybe a lot is kind of wrong, because you do have a lot of former Hillary Clinton supporters that have supported Kamala Harris, but I think some of them might have went over to Elizabeth Warren. So Hillary jumps in, the I'm with her people might jump to Hillary Clinton, and then of course disaster, right? Look, I don't know. This is a lot of speculation, obviously, and I realize it's based on like a tweet and a couple of snarky, jokey comments, right? But wouldn't this be the establishment's dream come true? Again, there are media pundits like the Jennifer Rubins of the world that, again, hate progressives, hate Bernie Sanders, lift up Elizabeth Warren because they hate Bernie Sanders. They see Hillary Clinton as a, oh God, please save me, Hillary. Save us from progressives. I don't want to pay more taxes. And so, I don't know, man. And there's certainly a lot of people in the media who might want a Hillary Clinton. I know Chris Salissa says no. So that's interesting. And, we'll have to see, right? But I don't want this to turn into 2016 all over again, because that would be an absolute disaster. We can't really afford to do that. Right now, I want it to be Elizabeth Warren versus Bernie Sanders. Again, I'm in favor of Bernie Sanders, but look, as much as we rag on, Elizabeth Warren. That's a weird slip. As much as we rag on Elizabeth Warren for doing half measures, again, you got to remember her policies are actually a lot more progressive than anybody else in the establishment. And so Joe Biden, he's fading. That's a problem for the establishment, because at the end of the day, they do not want to pay more taxes. So, look, again, speculation, but could Hillary Clinton run? I wouldn't completely write it off, although it's a really, really, really small chance. And so, and I hope she does not, because I actually want to win. Okay. So let's go to Betsy DeVos. Okay. Education Secretary Betsy DeVos might be in a little bit of trouble for ignoring court orders. Now, this is according to recent reports. DeVos has been threatened with jail after violating a court order when it comes to collecting student loans. So now, part of that, what the education department does is that they do collect student loans, okay, because they're generally the biggest lender of student loans. So now, the thing is that Corinthian College, which is one of those defunct schools, one of those for-profit colleges that was found to be ripping off students, well, they went under, and there are people that are saddled with student loans. Now, there was an earlier court case, which Betsy DeVos had lost in the education department, that says, well, you cannot collect those student loans, but she's been collecting them. Now, the ruling handing down in 2018 was made by Magistrate Judge Sally Kim and prevented DeVos from her Department of Education from going after former students of Corinthian. Now, according to a filing by the Education Department, more than 16,000 former students were incorrectly informed at one time or another that they had payments due on their federal student loans. And at least 1,800 people lost wages or tax refunds, according to the filing. Now, again, they were supposed to not have to pay these student loans because their college was bankrupt, defunct, and had turned out to have basically scammed them, but they still ended up paying those loans because DeVos ignored those orders. It's like, oh, yeah, well, I don't really feel like forgiving your student loan or canceling your student loan debt. We're just going to keep taking your money. I don't care what the court says. I believe that you should have to pay. And so that's what happened. So now the judge in this case, who handed out that ruling, well, she's not happy about it. She told Bloomberg, at best, it's gross negligence. At worst, it's an intentional flouting of my order. I'm not sure if this is contempt or sanctions. I'm not sending anyone to jail yet, but it's good to know I have that ability. Oh, wouldn't it be great if she used it? So now, the federal government has ruled that as many as 335,000 former Corinthian students could be entitled to have their debts canceled under the Borrower Defense Repayment Program. So that's a lot of people. That's a lot of student loan debt. Now, as soon as DeVos took over, numerous attempts were made to limit the scope of that program. In addition to effectively ignoring roughly 160,000 applications made for loan forgiveness, it's about half, according to the New York Times report. So now, after that happened, there was a class action lawsuit by about 80,000 Corinthian students that sued the education department, saying that you did not forgive these loans that they are supposed to be forgiven. Instead of showing compliance with the loan relief program, department filings revealed that they instead were pursuing students for loan repayment and had only pardoned 10 people, 10 student loans. Oh, these 10 cases, we'll let that go. The other 70,990 cases, we're going to come after you and get the money. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. So not only were the schools predatory, but now the federal government, under Betsy DeVos, is also being predatory and chasing after these people for loans that they shouldn't have to pay. Absolute insanity. So now, going back to Kim here, Judge Kim, she said, quote, there have to be consequences for violation of my order 16,000 times. I mean, look, that's a lot of violation. Go big or go home. And apparently, the boss went big. As she would. Additionally, Kim had ordered for the lawsuit against DeVos to go, quote, full steam ahead, and ordered lawyers for both camps to file the relevant filings to assist her in ruling in whether DeVos is, in fact, in contempt of court. So that's where the jail comes into play, right? So she could sentence DeVos to jail for being in contempt of court until she starts paying those, if she starts allowing those student loans to be forgiven. Oh, please do so. And look, there has to be consequences, right? And when it comes to Betsy DeVos. And I don't mean monetary consequences. Remember, DeVos is incredibly wealthy. She basically bought her position and has 10 yachts. A financial penalty is not going to do anything to Betsy DeVos. No. If she doesn't do her job, the law is fairly clear. You can put her in prison. Lock her up. Lock her up. Lock her up. Come on. But look, unfortunately, my cynical side comes out, and I'm thinking that it's fairly unlikely for, jail time to actually happen. Because, again, we don't punish powerful people. She disobeyed a direct court order, though. But as you can see from the Trump administration, nobody follows court orders. Nobody follows subpoenas. In fact, the administration itself has said, we're not even going to comply with any sort of court orders or any sort of subpoenas or anything having to do with impeachment in the House. We're not going to do anything. We're not going to do anything. And so Betsy DeVos basically taking a page from Donald Trump, saying, well, if they're not going to go after Trump for obvious crimes and impeachment, well, then why should I have to follow the law? We're run by criminals. We're run by criminals. And nobody is doing anything about it. Now, look, I hope that Judge Kim says, all right, you're not going to pay it. You are going to go to prison. Again, the fine's not going to work here unless they take all of her money, which, okay, maybe I'd be okay with. Take all the money and redistribute it to all the students. That'd be a funny, fitting punishment, wouldn't it? All the students that were, defrauded. Take her money and redistribute to them. That'd be interesting. But again, I don't see a lot of people, unfortunately, being held accountable for this. But again, we'll have to see. Okay. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a break. We'll come back. I'm going to read some comments, any super chats, and the Q bounties. So we'll do that. Stay right here. Be right back. Around the Nation. Welcome back to the show. Around the Nation right here, DOT Nation. Okay, so just got a couple of member comments for you guys. Just trying to move it along here pretty quickly. Where did I put those? Star Trek says Democrats would shoot themselves in the foot endorsing Hillary as the nominee. Absolutely. It wouldn't be just shooting yourself in the foot with a normal gun. This would be like bazookaing your own foot. You take out everything else. Jeanette Villalona says Trump is so scared to be beaten by a woman. Oh, he is. Oh, he absolutely. Just the thought. You're absolutely right. Okay. So now I'm going to answer the Q Bounty questions now. And they're both anonymous. But one asks, am I going to Politicon? So the answer to that, of course, is no. I will not be making it to Politicon this year. I've actually never been to a Politicon. It's actually really, really expensive for me to go. And I can't really afford to do so. So that's one of the main reasons that I'm not going to Politicon. And I've never been invited. And I've also talked to some people who have been invited to Politicon, I believe, who have gone to Politicon, and they say, look, if you're not going as a speaker or somebody who's debating, it's not really all that worth it because it's incredibly toxic. So I'm not going to tell you who that is, but you know that's the information that I've gotten. Funny story though is that Sam Cedar was supposed to debate Steven Crowder. Steven Crowder apparently got cold feet. And so now everyone is sending him socks. That's a fun story. I absolutely love it. I believe it was just like when Ann Coulter backed out. I think it was Ann Coulter that backed out a debate with Kyle Kalinske. What's with all these conservatives having cold feet when it comes to debating progressives? Weird. But it is a shame that I'm not going to be able to attend because I do want to see Anna take on Tommy Lauren. Oh, that's going to be fun. So much fun. Okay. I guess I'll have to watch from afar. Sad face. Okay. Next question. And this is a political question from, again, somebody who's anonymous. Now that the others are failing and Biden is almost out, who is the more credible candidate of Bernie and Warren? Oh, no, that's an interesting question. And I like that question. So now, look, the person that I trust, when it comes to, again, this is my personal opinion, the person that I trust the most is Bernie Sanders. Why do I trust Bernie Sanders? He's been saying the same thing for 40 years. The guy's a rock. Now, that said, look, Elizabeth Warren, yes, she used to be a Republican. I actually don't like that attack against her. Why is that? Because there are plenty of people that are progressive now that used to be conservative. And so if we trash anybody who used to be a Republican, used to be a conservative person in the past, but is now a progressive, you'd be alienating a lot of actually really good current progressives. And so that's the problem I have with that argument. You're basically saying that you're not allowed to change, that you have to have been born progressive. Let me tell you what, I used to be a moderate. Back in the day, I was like, I don't know, Republicans have some good ideas, Democrats have some good ideas. I was a so-called fence sitter. Now, deeply progressive because I actually know the issues, because I've actually taken time to learn. And so I think it's a little bit of an unfair attack. That said, I do trust Bernie Sanders more than I trust Elizabeth Warren, because to me, there are some certain things that I'm not happy about when it comes to Elizabeth Warren. She didn't go to Standing Rock, and then did the native thing, native ancestry, so that kind of like super, super cringe. She was unclear about Medicare for all, and then was unclear about, well, she actually did say that she was going to take corporate money in the general, and then she backtracked and said, no, I'm not going to take corporate money in the general anymore. I'd still say that's a win for the left, but again, when you're looking at someone with consistency, Bernie Sanders, again, like a rock. I'm going to go with him. To me, he has more credibility. But if Bernie Sanders wasn't in the race, then yeah, I'd vote for Elizabeth Warren hands down, because her policies, even though I have a distrust of her, I also distrust pretty much every other politician. and at least her plans are halfway decent. And so there's my explanation on that. But again, as long as Bernie Sanders is in the race, he's my number one. Bernie is freaking bae. Let's just keep it at that. Okay. Hopefully I answered you guys' question. And if you want to send in a question, qbounty.com. That's QBOUNTI.com. And you can help out the show by asking me a question. All right, let's get back to stories. All right. There's a disastrous new report out that shows how much we waste due to our overcomplicated health insurance system. So it's our private health insurance system. Now, this is according to a new analysis published in JMA. JAMA. You know what? Let me just restart that. So there's a disastrous new report that shows how much we waste due to our inefficient, wasteful, overcomplicated healthcare system. So this is according to a new analysis published in JAMA. The U.S. apparently wastes nearly $1 trillion when it comes to healthcare. So now the numbers range from about $760 billion to about $935 billion annually, or about 25% of the nation's total healthcare spending. So now 25% might not seem like a lot, but we spend, and this will blow your mind, about $3.8 trillion on healthcare as a country annually. This is more than any other country in the world, by the way. Twice as much as they do in the UK, twice as much as in Canada, and we waste about $1 trillion of it. That's insane. Now, this is according to Dr. William Schrank, the chief medical officer at the health insurer Humana, and his colleagues. So now they looked at this, and his colleagues include Teresa Rogstad from Humana, Dr. Natasha Parikh from the University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine, etc. And they basically looked at 6 wasteful domains identified by the Institute of Medicine report authors. And the estimated costs, they say, of waste and potential savings from interventions that address waste are as high as $760 billion, $930 billion, and $191 billion to $282 billion, respectively. So just the cost of trying to intervene and get potential savings from that still costs $191 to $282 billion a year. Jesus. So now, what were the main problems that they identified? Well, there were failure of care delivery, failure of care coordination, overtreatment or low value care, pricing failure, I can see a lot of that, fraud and abuse, and administrative complexity. So all of those factors contribute to the near $1 trillion a year worth of waste in our healthcare system. So now, overall, the takeaway from their analysis is this. The U.S. healthcare system, they say, is layered with complexity, lacks transparency, and lacks coordination between medical care providers and those entities that pay them, those entities being, of course, for-profit health insurance companies. So, now, I love how they bring up transparency. We don't have any. For example, why is it that a bag of saline can cost anywhere from near $500 to $700 per patient? Who makes that decision? I mean, who marks that up? Again, a saline takes about $1.07 to manufacture, right? They mark it up to $500 to $700 for a bag. There's no transparency in pricing. There's no transparency in pricing when it comes to drug manufacturing as well. A complete and utter disaster. So now, there's the coordination, of course. There's a problem as well, because there are so many different insurance companies, so many different plans, different rates in network, out of network, different doctors, coverage levels, co-payment levels, deductibles. It's incredibly insane, extremely complicated. So doing that coordination between hospital, payer, etc., or payee is just it's massive. It's massively complicated unnecessarily. And so that's a part of a lot of that waste. You waste a lot of time trying to figure out who to bill, what to bill them for, and getting them to pay, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right? In fact, administrative complexity was found to be the greatest source of waste in the United States. So that's interesting. Even with all those other factors, turns out that you have too much administration, too much complexity within the administrative portion of actually delivering healthcare, whether it be the administration of health insurance companies as well as hospitals. Too much bureaucracy, too many layers. So now how do you get rid of that? How do you simplify things so you can bring down costs and eliminate this kind of waste? Single payer healthcare, Medicare for all system. You eliminate the middleman, eliminate the insurance companies, and that's the only way a single payer system will actually work is if you eliminate all the other payers. You just have the government who collects tax money and then pays the hospitals and then negotiates directly with the hospitals on what, and how much they're actually willing to pay. With a multi-payer system, even if you have a public option and the public option won't work because of this reason, you can have a public option that does not have enough negotiating power to really effectively change prices. These private insurance companies will continue to pay the same prices to the hospitals and continue to pass on the premium to you, and then of course pocket the difference. And so they'll also use that money that they get in profit to be able to weaken any sort of public option legislation, reduce the amount that it covers, and essentially create what is a death spiral system where only the oldest, weakest, and sickest people go to the government plan, and the healthiest people and the ones that will bring them the most profit margin will go to private insurance, which of course will end up being a little bit cheaper under that specific system. So that's one of the problems with your public option plans versus a Medicare for all single payer system, and it definitely relates to a lot of this waste and administrative bloat. Essentially, what you have, Medicare again has a very small operating cost, administrative cost. They actually have a less administrative cost than a lot of for-profit private insurers. They also don't have advertising fees, and they don't have all these other superfluous costs that basically put money into the pockets of shareholders. They don't have to worry about that. All they have to worry about is taking the correct amount of tax money, negotiating prices directly with hospitals, and then paying that. That actually simplifies everything, and that's why you have reduced prices. And so that's why private insurance has to go. It's incredibly inefficient. Now, there's one more point here that I think is interesting to bring up, and that's our current spending on healthcare. Now, I know Republicans and corporate Democrats are both saying, oh my God, Medicare for all, we can't do that because it's going to cost $32 trillion over the next 10 years. That's $3.2 trillion a year. You know how much we pay right now? Well, I mentioned it before. About $3.8 trillion. And nearly $1 trillion of it is complete waste. Whereas $3.2 trillion, and that's a rough estimate from different studies and even conservative studies have said that we save that much. Even with that, you cover everyone with less than what we pay now. With the money that we basically waste in our healthcare system, we could cover everyone and cover more. Again, Medicare for all, the current bill that's in Congress covers dental, vision, hearing, maternity, all these different things. It's a massive expansion of the benefits of Medicare because under that system, everything is covered, so you don't need to go to a private insurer. And we can still do it less than what we do it now. And so that's absolute insanity. $900 billion in waste. Current system, Medicare for All, would eliminate most, if not all, of that waste and overhead bloat. Everyone's covered, and they end up having actually better coverage. It would be the equivalent of a Cadillac plan, according to John Delaney. And John Delaney is not in favor of Medicare for All. But even he had to admit, Medicare for All, it'd be equivalent to a Cadillac plan. So that's why we can't have it, even though it costs less, covers more, and is actually superior healthcare. No brainer. It's an absolute Medicare for All. It's an absolute no brainer. We should do it. We should do it now and accept no middle ground. Okay. Moving on. Fun times. So I think we'll end on this story. Now, conservatives are not happy about a book that appears to make fun of Donald Trump. Now, the book, released earlier this week, was written by Faye Kenhouse and illustrated by Amy Zing. And basically, the title of it is If You Give a Pig the White House. Fun. So now it's an adult parody of the children's cautionary tale, If You Give a Pig a Pancake. I never read that, but it should be pretty interesting. Now, the following overview was provided via Amazon. A coiffed and blustery pig has shoved his way into the White House. A cleverly worded and illustrated picture book. This is the adult parody of the beloved children's cautionary tale, If You Give a Pig a Pancake. Watch in dismay as the presidential pig gets into trouble. Binges on too much Fox News and fast food. Awesome. Cavalierly threatens national security. If You Give a Pig the White House both lovingly caricatures the original children's book, and it shows just what can happen when a greedy anti-hero tracks his hooves all over America. Now, of course, that has conservatives raging. They were really quick to react on social media. Many of them, of course, called for a boycott. Hey, man, you do you. That's fine. Now, the popular Facebook page, Texas for Donald Trump, called for a boycott of Barnes & Noble if the book was not removed. Oh, wait, I thought you guys believe in free speech. How dare you? You need to remove it. Remove this book. Burn it. Burn it now. Really? You guys believe in free speech? All right. So now, one Trump conservative said this, quote, "Why is this book in your store? This is absolutely disgusting, especially since it is targeting the minds of young children. I will never ever shop at your stores again if this book remains in your stores. Imagine if this was a parody on Obama with his likeness to pig on the front. Would that be okay for you? The fact that this book is being sold by Barnes & Noble speaks volumes about what you decide to sell." So now this is funny. He brings up, what if it happened to Obama? All right, well, let's look at it and see if that happened, huh? If conservatives wrote a parody about Obama, for one, it probably wouldn't be funny. And for two, it wouldn't be a big. You know what it would be? Let's be honest. We all know the answer to this. It would be a monkey. We all know it because they wouldn't be able to help themselves. It's not like there hasn't been comparisons between Obama, both Obamas, Michelle and Barack, to a monkey among conservative pages. Deeply racist. Now, if they replaced him with a donkey, well, that'd be different. Because donkey is, of course, the mascot for the Democratic Party. Okay, I could get that. And then you could do some, parody on that. That'd be fine. I wouldn't rage on it. I don't think most progressives would rage about it. We'd be, annoyed maybe at most. But no, these guys are having a meltdown about this. And so let me give you some More responses to this. This is fun. A waste of paper. Teaching kids to disrespect the office of the president is a terrible idea. Grow the hell up. Poorly written and juvenile. It's meant for kids. Morons will love this, though, especially if they suffer from Trump derangement syndrome. Okay. More. I think this is a sorry excuse for a children's book, meant only to brainwash young children to dislike our current president. I hope no one buys this disgusting liberal parody. I love how it's always considered to be brainwashing when it comes to, when conservatives look at something. Brainwashing, different opinion, brainwashing the kids. All right, well, conservatives would never do that, by the way. Oh, really? Let me see if I have that image here. Oops. May not have that ready. Hold on. Nope. Let me bring that up real quick. Well, there it is. Help, Mom. There are liberals under my bed. Interesting. So now let me give you the book overview. The full-color illustrated book is a fun way for parents to teach young children the valuable lessons of conservatism. Written in simple text, of course, because it's a kid's book. Readers can follow along with Tommy and Lou, as they open a lemonade stand to earn money for a swing set. But when liberals start demanding that Tommy and Lou pay half their money in taxes, that's not how it works, take down their picture of Jesus and serve broccoli with every glass of lemonade. I'm not kidding about this. The young brothers experience the downsides of living in liberal land. Okay, then. That's not even close to reality. But all right. Hey, what was that? What was that point about brainwashing the children with liberal propaganda? Right. Look, this book is obviously wrong, but whatever. I'm not going to freak out about it. It's pointing out the hypocrisy. More comments here. I want to read one of these on the Kenyan King of America who never had any issues, except for Benghazi. Fast and Furious. Giving $150 billion to a terrorist state. Locking up a dissenter for several months. Associated with known pedophiles and a family that is associated with tens of suicides. Wow, that's a lot of conspiracy theories all packaged up into one comment. Yikes. And then another comment here. Is a disgusting book written by a snowflake author. Teaches kids nothing but hate. Amazon, please remove this crap ASAP. Who sounds like the snowflake here? You guys got triggered by a kid's book. Both hilarious and actually kind of sad. All right. Figured we'd end on a fun note. All right. Thank you guys for going around the nation with me today. Please like and share the stream. Please consider becoming a patron. Patreon.com/TYTNation. That's it. Like and share. We'll see you guys tomorrow. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. We'll see you later.